more Incineroar. Lots of Incineroar here on Eric's side, along with that Nihilego there, and of course, that Mimikyu and Groudon to kick things off for both of these players.
So kind of a fun matchup. We get to see both of the players using one of the Pokemon we don't see very often, with Nihilego on one side of the field and Mimikyu on the other. I'm a little interested to see what Mimikyu will do. We saw it a lot in a couple of the previous seasons of the Video Game Championships, often used to help enable Snorlax. This year, we haven't seen a whole lot of it. The Disguise ability is still really powerful. You know, no matter how much damage you take in an attack, Disguise is still going to block one single hit. But also, the supportive elements of what Mimikyu does kind of aren't as strong in this format. So perhaps Christopher's found a different way of using this Pokemon to try and make an impact on this format, where it's got to fight the true titans of Pokemon and not just facing off against the other non-legendary Pokemon. I
feel like Mimikyu in this team composition is really going to help enable the damage from the big damage dealers like Xerneas, like Groudon, maybe even Salamence here if we see Salamence get brought to the table. But with Groudon as its partner to start off, Christopher has some options here, whether or not to go for some big damage, try to knock out those frailer Pokemon, but it is going to be a fake out onto Groudon. So Groudon's not going to be able to move for this turn. Nihilego also going to fire back here against Mimikyu, popping that Disguise right off the bat.
Yeah, Wise, just get that out of the way, and I don't have to worry about it. Now, Mimikyu can be knocked out just like any other Pokemon.
And Mimikyu going for a play rough here into the Nihilego slot. Not going to do too much damage there, about 1/5 of that health gone. And that's going to be the first turn.
Yeah, both players kind of just tickling each other to start out this one. But it makes sense. You know, Mimikyu essentially has a kind of a reverse Focus Sash where the first attack doesn't do anything. Nihilego most often given a Focus Sash to hold. So by doing a little bit of damage, it allows the next attack, if it's strong enough, to knock it out. So both sides kind of doing the same thing, just trading their defenses. And now, kind of after that posturing, we'll likely see them make a little bit bigger plays here. Certainly if you are on Eric's side of the field, you're going to be a little careful with Groudon facing down two Pokemon who are weak against ground type attacks. But Kyogre's coming in. Perhaps Eric looking for a big play here.
Yeah, well, at least with Kyogre coming in, we're going to get a weather reset in favor of Eric's Kyogre. It means that Groudon's going to have a tough time dishing out some big damage to Eric's side of the field with that weather boost here. The Primal Reversion going off here. There's that Primordial Sea. And I just think that maybe, I wonder if Christopher's going to read this here. Ooh, wow. Nihilego going for a hidden power here onto the Groudon. Oh, wow, super effective. Barely holds on.
A great play, but it's not quite enough. Now there's going to be a ton of damage going the other way. We see Mimikyu firing off a Z move, and will almost definitely be fouled by a precipice plays from Groudon. A really cute play by Eric, but we'll have to see if he's given up too much to make it.
Definitely super cute here as Mimikyu is going for that Z move of let's snuggle forever. Aww. I love this animation. I also love the text. I love the text of the let's snuggle forever.
Mimikyu, trying to get the jump on Kyogre here. Its friend Groudon has lost its weather control, but a great way to get rain off the field is to knock out that Kyogre, and Mimikyu is coming down, doing its best.
Oh, that's going to be a pretty big umbrella to rain on the parade here. Not going to do a whole lot of damage, but it might put Kyogre in some striking distance for Mimikyu's partner, Groudon. Groudon firing back with a Precipice Blaze to see if they can finish off one or both of the Pokemon. Nihilego at least takes the knockout on that.
Yeah, that's a ton of damage going the other way. Perhaps Eric's expecting that Groudon maybe is a little, trained a little less defensively than it is, just barely hangs on. It makes a huge difference. Gets that knockout onto Nihilego, gets a ton of damage on a Kyogre, and Christopher's looking pretty good, although there is still the weather control for Eric's side, although Rayquaza is sort of going to negate it here by coming in with the airlock ability, which negates the effect of the ongoing weather.
I almost feel like Eric is setting himself up to reposition at the moment. I don't know if Kyogre wants to stay in this instance with Rayquaza as its partner on the field. Maybe bring in the Incineroar, get some more fake out pressure, get some more of the Intimidates off. I feel like that's kind of where Eric needs to go from here unless he wants to make a hugely aggressive play.
Yeah, I mean, Groudon likely didn't get forced out here either way. Both In and Mimikyu have been intimidated, which is why Kyogre's still on the field. But it's still, it's a tricky spot. Rayquaza has a somewhat free turn here if he can make a read, but Mimikyu with those fairy-type attacks sort of demands an answer of some sort.
Well, that answer might be Rayquaza because it will Mega Evolve and stay on the field. Delta Stream now going to change the weather once again. Will help Rayquaza stay a little bit more protected. Ooh, going for a Swords Dance. This is real risky.
Yeah, I mean, guess he's behind in the game, knows he has to try to do something, hoping that the Intimidate that Incineroar used will be enough to let him get away with this play.
Oh, Mimikyu is going to go for that play rough on Christopher's side. Going to do a little bit more, less than half here, and Fire Punch to follow it up. gonna put it down to less than half health.
Kyger's getting an attack off, though. Kind of just cheekily stays in, doesn't get knocked out by a Precipice Blades that never comes, and it's able to pick up the knockout on that Groudon.
I feel like Eric's going to feel good about that, but I also don't feel like Christopher cares too much about losing that Groudon. That Groudon already served its purpose of knocking out that Nihilego, and I think that was a big threat to his team.
Yeah, I think he did exactly what he needed to do in that turn as well, where it was important for him not to give up that Swords Dance too easily. That was kind of the trade-off of Christopher picking up those knockouts, is that Rayquaza got to come in after the Intimidates were already in play, get that Swords Dance without giving up too much, and now it will be up to Christopher to try to find a way to use this Xerneas to pick up some knockouts here. Gonna have to play around that Rayquaza, very scary with the Swords Dance, can easily knock out a Xerneas at +2. So now, just kind of a matter of maneuvering, got to weaken the Xerneas a little bit perhaps, or try to maneuver Incineroar back in without getting it knocked out in order to get that fake out pressure, defend Rayquaza. On the flip side, Christopher still hasn't revealed his final Pokemon, so perhaps it could be used to help Xerneas get some space here, but it would probably be battle those two legendary Pokemon that will determine which player comes out on top in game one.
Well, Eric is going to open that rotating door here, sending back out Incineroar, preserving the rain effect of Kyogre just in case something else in Christopher's backfield is going to be a problem here. Xerneas, though, not opting to do anything at the moment but protect. Maybe trying to force out a read here from Eric's side of the field. And Mimikyu going for Curse.
Ooh, that's not a move we see very often. Does something a little bit different when a Ghost-type Pokemon uses it than when something like Snorlax uses it. Mimikyu sacrificing a bunch of its health, but Rayquaza is now going to be losing a fourth of its lot you can do to play around that. It's exactly the held item you want to have if you're cursed, though.
Wonders here for Eric to try to mitigate some of that damage effect from Curse on Mimikyu, but both of these players to reposture themselves in this match.
Yeah, Eric now doesn't have very much time left to try to make some plays with this Rayquaza. He's got the Swords Dance up, but with Mimikyu having gotten Curse off, Rayquaza only has 3 turns left in the field if it doesn't switch out, and even less if it takes additional damage. So, tricky spot. But Xerneas has already used Protect, so maybe there's some temptation with Rayquaza just to take a free Dragon Ascent knockout. And that's, if he does take that Dragon Ascent knockout, whatever Pokemon's in the back, that lets Mimikyu Rayquaza, that would Rayquaza can use with that Swords Dance.
You must be a fortune teller, because we are going to see Xerneas switch out here for Incineroar. Incineroar are going to intimidate both of the Pokemon here on Eric's side of the field. So Rayquaza is going to go for that Dragon Ascent, but what slot? That is the important question.
It looks like it's coming down an Incineroar?
Yeah, going to go right into that Xerneas slot. So Christopher opting to sacrifice the Incineroar to save Xerneas for a later turn. But Mimikyu is still on the field, pumping out a lot of pressure against Eric's team. And a play rough into the Rayquaza slot. It might put it in striking distance. It's going to be close.
That's a crucial play rough, doing a decent chunk of damage despite the Intimidates, and Mimikyu might feint a hero there. If that deals with Rayquaza, it should be too difficult for Xerneas to close out this game.
Ooh, Curse though. Is this going to be enough? Yep, that's going to do it. Rayquaza going to go down from that Curse there, and now Eric is down to his final 2 Pokemon. Christopher, though, has Xerneas left, and that's it.
Yeah, I think you're pretty happy with Xerneas. Kyogre significantly weakened. Xerneas hasn't used Geomancy yet, and may not even need to with the advantage it has in health. Really well played by Christopher. We see Curse from Mimikyu really coming in clutch there. Also the play rough damage. That Curse didn't get it by a lot with Xerneas, or excuse me, with Rayquaza having, I believe, 212 hit points. Curse is doing just a little over 50 damage. So, that play rough gets it down, I think, 52, so just barely gets it, 3 or 4 HP to spare. And yeah, get to see the effectiveness of that Mimikyu. We don't see a whole lot of it. Curse, not a move we've seen Mimikyu use a whole lot over past seasons, but it makes a lot of sense there, where with all these powerful legendary Pokemon boosting their stats, Curse is a great way to negate it. The only thing you can do to get rid of Curse is switch out, and as we can see there, Eric just doesn't want to give up the Swords Dance and fights it out instead.
Well, he at least got a double knockout for his efforts, but Eric now has to go on the aggressive. I hope he read this one, that Christopher was going to go for that Geomancy, but is that going to be enough damage on Eric's side to actually deal with that boosted deer? Oh, Scald not going to do too much here, and I don't know if there's going to be enough from Incineroar to really finish off with Snarl. Snarl coming out.
Yeah, kind of does everything he can. Really, the only out for Eric there was getting a critical hit from that Kyogre. With the rain in play, Incineroar can't use Flare Blitz, so it's not going to be able to do a whole lot of damage to Xerneas. Perhaps in another situation, the special attack drop from Snarl would be some saving grace for Eric, but when Kyogre's been weakened so much, it doesn't really make a difference.
Well, Kyogre's going to go to the Protect to see, maybe draw out a little bit more time here on Eric's side, but Incineroar on the receiving end here of that Dazzling Gleam will be able to at least get off one more, maybe two more Snarls. It's going to lower that special attack quite a bit.
Xerneas' special attack now back to its neutral state, negating the offensive impact of that Geomancy, but with a special defense boost, it's still not going to take very much damage from either of these Pokemon. Still, I mean, I guess if you're on Eric's side, you're just hoping you can protect enough to lower Xerneas' special attack, but Moonblast's going to come down and pick up a knockout on one of these Pokemon. It'll be Kyogre going down here. Yeah,
absolutely, and now it's going to be Incineroar against the world, and but the rain is gone, so Incineroar going for the Snarl. It's not going to be able to do enough damage, I think, to Xerneas.
Yeah, kind of an interesting endgame situation. Xerneas' special attack now reduced by 1 level, despite having used Geomancy before, and without the Sun in play, there is the option of using Flare Blitz. Certainly a little dangerous on Incineroar's side because it would sacrifice some of its own HP, but maybe Eric goes for it, hopes for a big critical hit at some point, perhaps.
Well, Xerneas moves moving first. Moonblast into that Incineroar slot at that negative damage there. Ooh, is going to activate the Pinch Berry right in striking distance. Incineroar will regain a decent chunk of its health, but still going for Snarl.
Yes, I guess that tells us this Incineroar doesn't have Flare Blitz, and I don't know if there's a way to win this game without it. Kind of a interesting moveset on Eric's side where, maybe you don't use it perhaps here for tactical reasons, or you just kind of think like, well, I can survive even more attacks later if I keep snarling now. So when you use all of your snarls first and then start attacking. So you just wait the next turn. Here comes the Flare Blitz.
Here comes the Flare Blitz. Incineroar is going to take some recoil damage from this one, but Xerneas going to get chipped away a little bit. Moonblast, though, also just doing some tickle damage here. It's a party.
It's a party. Really close. I mean, it's at a point where a critical hit could maybe do it, although I think you'd need it next turn rather than this turn.
Moonblast again here from the Xerneas. That actually did a little bit more damage. Yeah, this Flare Blitz actually might backfire onto Eric. Oh, just barely, not enough here. Xerneas is going to move first on this next one.
Yeah, Xerneas will pick up the knockout. He does the math pretty well there. I was kind of wondering if he didn't start attacking a turn too late, but I think he needed to crit either way. So he waits to the last possible moment to go for it. Xerneas picks up the knockout, and we wound up with a very, very close first game there.
Absolutely. I mean, look at how down to the wire both of these players went for that round. I mean, we have more games, though. They both played this one really well.
Yeah, I kind of liked how that ended, where I was wondering why we didn't immediately see the Flare Blitz, but if he'd done so, he would have knocked himself out of turns sooner anyway with the recoil damage. So I guess, perhaps doing it that way, if he'd gotten different rolls, maybe he would have been able to either survive one more attack or, again, he needed the crit either way. So it didn't make too big of a difference, but kind of a bizarre, clever endgame where you don't see Incineroar almost beating Xerneas in a fight too often, but just barely squeaking by is Christopher there in a bizarre endgame, to say the least.
I feel like Eric maybe got a little unlucky with the damage he rolled onto Christopher's Groudon as well. Groudon got a chance to fire off another attack because it was able to hold on with low HP. I think that Eric was hoping for the knockout there. Left him a little bit behind, but I think the other star from Christopher's team was that Mimikyu. Mimikyu was able to enable a lot of big damage on Christopher's side of the field.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see if Christopher can kind of weather the storm throughout the rest of the series. I think kind of to your point, both of those things, Eric likely not expecting Curse. I don't know why anyone would. It's just not been a thing that players have been kind of trained to deal with. And then, certainly with the way he committed to that play, I think he was expecting a knockout on that Groudon. Well, maybe perhaps find out through the course of the series, was that a damage roll? Every attack, there's a range of much damage it can do. So maybe it was capable of getting a knockout. It didn't. Groudon survived healthily enough that I would definitely not go for that play again if I was Eric, kind of regardless. But it's still really good information to him, right? Where, all right, now Christopher knows I have hidden power, but at least I know I can't pick up that knockout, so I've got to try to maneuver into that situation differently. Also, in some ways, an advantage. You'd rather get the sneaky KO, but at least now every time that Groudon's on the field with Nihilego, Christopher's going to have to be careful about the threat of that hidden power, so it does give him some board presence he didn't have in the first game. I think if I'm Eric, maybe I feel like using similar Pokemon, I could still win the game, just kind of knowing some things that maybe I thought would work or thought I didn't have to deal with. I think that Mimikyu in particular, it's going to be important for him to knock that out before it can start using moves like Curse. It didn't seem like a big threat at the time, so it made sense he was ignoring it, but it wound up backfiring.
I mean, Mimikyu had already gotten off its Z move, so how much more did you really have to worry about there? But now Eric has all of that information to play around that Mimikyu a little bit better, and we're getting ready for that game too. Leads coming out now from both of these players, and Eric leading with a very similar start to what they did before. Nihilego and Incineroar on the field. Just swap places a little bit here, and Christopher as well, going with very similar leads, Mimikyu and Xerneas.
Yeah, the big difference is Xerneas coming out immediately. Certainly advantageous for Eric in a way. You don't want to face down Xerneas with, or Nihilego with Xerneas, but he still has some pretty safe switches. Not a ton of offensive pressure being exhibited by Eric's side of the field here either. We've already seen, I guess we didn't see Nihilego's item for sure, but we didn't see any, because we didn't see any item, it's likely that Christopher was right, anticipating that was a Focus Sash. Because of that, it's not a ton of neutral damage coming out from Nihilego, but still, Christopher's not going to be able to set up a Geomancy in front of this, so likely going to see a switch on that side of the field.
Yeah, Christopher needs to take a minute to reposture themselves a bit here, but what about that Mimikyu? You think that Christopher's going to try to start out a little aggressive with that Pokemon on the field? Yeah,
I mean, I think that probably Eric should try not to let him. I think he learned how dangerous that Mimikyu was, and yeah, we see Christopher switching the Mimikyu out of battle immediately, defending that disguise this time, so he'll have that to play with later in the match.
That might be a great way for Christopher to have a bit more of a late game here. Not that he needed too much of that in that game one, because it did come down to the wire, but not opting to switch out the Xerneas either. Gonna stay in, use Protect here, and baits out that Sludge Bomb from Nihilego.
Really good U-turn by Eric. That could have been a terrible turn if he'd gone for a fake out, or really, I guess anything with that Incineroar instead would have led into a very easy Geomancy for Christopher if he was willing to go for it despite Nihilego. Instead, Incineroar escaping, gets to at least put out some offensive pressure with Kyogre here, and now he's kind of saying, all right, well, if you use fake out with Incineroar to stop Nihilego from using a poison type attack onto Xerneas while you use Geomancy, I'm going to pick up the knockout on that Incineroar and get some free damage on Xerneas. So it's a nice posturing by Eric, getting Kyogre in this turn instead of next turn so they can threaten that attack and make the impact of that fake out a little bit more dangerous.
Absolutely. I'm really interested to see how Eric's going to play around the Pokemon here. I mean, Christopher really has had a couple of dead turns needing to reposition themselves on the board, and it looks like this is going to be another turn for them to have to do that.
Another thing to keep in mind, too, we haven't seen many of Nihilego's moves, so what can this Pokemon do other than Sludge Bomb?
Well, we're not going to see that either because of the fake out into the Nihilego slot. This is going to enable Xerneas to get off that Geomancy, but did Eric read that? Is Kyogre going to go for some damage here onto both of Christopher's Pokemon?
Yeah, I think we're probably going to see the situation I mentioned earlier where, all right, like, if you're going to get your Geomancy off, you're getting your Geomancy off, but I'm going to make you pay for it. So we'll see Eric pick up a knockout. We'll probably see, Xerneas looking, getting out his turn scot-free. So now, what can Christopher do after this big water spout comes down?
That is going to be a one-hit knockout onto Incineroar and about half damage to Xerneas. That puts Xerneas into a really dangerous position, even though it did get off that Geomancy.
Yeah, really nice trade by Eric where he ended up in a position where he couldn't possibly have stopped the Geomancy. He says, all right, I'm just going to make you pay for it as much as I can. But Groudon exactly the right Pokemon to come in here, threaten big damage on both these Pokemon, negate any potential for Kyogre to use water-type attacks, and it puts Eric in a tricky spot where he now needs to find a way to maneuver to try to get control of the game somehow. If Nihilego knows Trick Room, most of them do, that would certainly be a great option against this Xerneas, but it's going to require some sacrifices, again, likely to pull off. That Groudon is certainly not going to allow Nihilego to use any sort of attack while it's in the field unless it is to miss a Precipice Blade, so I'm likely going to see a Protect on that Nihilego, some maneuvering from Eric unless he thinks he can get some cheap damage here somehow, but a Kyogre under the sun isn't going to do much to Groudon, and he's Xerneas with a Geomancy boost.
With the ability to switching Groudon, Christopher is setting the pace here, really forcing Eric into an unfavorable position. Feels like the Kyogre needs to be preserved for later turns in the match, so Incineroar coming back out to try to mitigate some of the pressure on Christopher's field. Those are some big damage dealers.
We'll have to see what how much damage Christopher can put out. It'd be really bad for Eric if Incineroar were to go down here.
Oh, well, it's not going to go down, but at least from that dazzling gleam, Nihilego able to get off a Sludge Bomb into the Xerneas slot. Is that enough damage? It is, so we're not going to see any more from that critical hit onto Xerneas. Xerneas only gets to get off dazzling gleam.
Yeah, it's a big crit. Not able to knock out that Xerneas through the Geomancy, but Groudon's going to fire back.
Ooh, Nihilego did get a chance to get that beast boost there, but it's not going to survive to actually get it used. Double knockout there for Christopher's side, and now we are even in Pokemon on both sides of the field.
Yeah, a little bit less awful because of the knockout onto Xerneas, but Groudon getting to take some big KOs, and because of that, both trainers only have 2 Pokemon remaining. That Kyogre on Eric's side of the field going to re-enter the field, get control of the weather, and there's going to be no way that Christopher can turn that back. Unless Mimikyu perhaps could make some great plays again. Well, actually, no, I guess Rayquaza is going to ruin everything. It's the final Pokemon, so even though Kyogre is going to turn this weather around, is never actually going to get to use the rain.
Yeah, you really don't want to leave Rayquaza in its regular form because it just is so important to have the Mega Evolution there. You need the extra stat boost from that Mega Evolution, so I don't think that Eric's going to get a chance to use that either. But this is going to be just a few more turns, and we're going to have a decider of this game.
I was going to say, 2 legendary Pokemon on one side of the field versus 1 on the other is not a nice spot, especially because, even though it's Airlock, it'll be active, and perhaps Delta Stream later, regardless of which of the 3 potential abilities at Eric's side of the field is dominant, all of them allow water-type attacks to target that Groudon. So Mimikyu's really going to have to get some stuff done. That Groudon could not be in a worse position facing down the 2 other legendary Pokemon from the Hoenn region.
Ooh, well, there is that Mega Evolution here, and with no ability to switch out, we are going to see both of these trainers battle it out to the fullest here on this ground. Rayquaza protecting, no, so I think maybe Eric trying to bait out a potential Z-move.
Yeah, maybe trying to, both dodge the Z-move and then maybe try to get Groudon's protect. No protect from Groudon, but this will block the Z-moves. Yeah, really excellent play by Eric to reduce the damage of an adorable but perhaps ineffective Z-move.
Adorable but ineffective. Sometimes I have seen Mimikyu do some major damage to Pokemon with that Z-move, but, snuggling OP.
Yeah, kind of regardless of these Pokemon it hits, too. It's so important for Christopher to knock out both of these Pokemon, and I just don't know how you do it. It makes more sense to target Rayquaza, I guess, weak to those Fairy-type attacks. So even through Protect, this will do a non-trivial amount of damage, but it's a long uphill battle for Christopher. Thankfully, still has that disguise on Mimikyu, but we'll have to see how much this one does.
Thumbs up, just giving Mimikyu the go-ahead to dish out the damage. And with that, we are going to see that with the Protect, you get about a quarter, maybe a third of damage. That's actually pretty substantial there.
Oh, that's a great Swords Dance.
Wow. Christopher is really pumping out the pressure, putting the pedal to the metal with that Swords Dance. Groudon is really postured here to be scary.
Look, really nice play by Christopher. He understands that, while Eric knows that I have this Z-move, he's probably going to double Protect. My Groudon is in a terrible spot anyway. I might as well try to get as much as I possibly can. At least now for Eric, he has to keep that Groudon in mind. The obvious play here is to maybe target Mimikyu, go for a Water Spout, but Rayquaza, not fit to allow Groudon to show up with its own Swords Dance, uses one itself.
Yeah, they are parlayed. They're about to get ready, but Rayquaza, ooh, that is super effective, but the Rayquaza lives, and now it gets a chance to use its Pinch Berry. Christopher was really hoping for a knockout there. Wow, Groudon using Precipice Blades is obviously not going to affect the Rayquaza because it is levitating above the ground there. But Kyogre going to be on the receiving end of that one, and Christopher might be postured in a better position here, but Scald coming out directly into the Groudon is going to knock it out and prevent it from doing any further damage with that Swords Dance boost.
Yeah, this game gets surprisingly close, though. Because of that Swords Dance and how quick the Groudon is, able to take a bunch of damage, and that Kyogre, if Mimikyu had just done 2 more damage and picked up that knockout on Rayquaza, Christopher almost definitely would have won this game. It looked like Eric just had this dominant position, but there's still a way. Maybe another play rough knocks out the Rayquaza, or like as a Protect play where Christopher can attack once more. It seems like he needs one more attack that is clearly on the board, so he's gonna have to find one more trick here.
Gonna use Protect, maybe baiting out some of that damage here from Eric's team. There is the Dragon Ascent that is going to get bullied into the Protect there, and Scald as well. So great read there on Christopher's side, knowing that Eric was not going to Protect.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think Eric was looking for. I think Christopher's probably trying to look for the Rayquaza Protect so he can safely-ish get the play ref on the Rayquaza and then hope that he survives the Scald from Kyogre. I think that's probably his best play from this position. So Eric, by not protecting, it keeps things complicated for Christopher. Will Rayquaza protect? Will it not? Attacking to a protect, if you're Christopher, would definitely lose in the game where, he may be like half a turn behind. He can't afford to be a turn and a half behind. And there is the protect.
There's the protected. Christopher, read this right. Mimikyu is going to use play rough, but it goes into the protect. Looks like this is going to be over here. Scald will break the disguise on Mimikyu, but is Mimikyu going to be able to survive another one?
Yeah, so disguise goes down, but that couldn't happen if you're Christopher, where he did the right thing, I think, the previous turn, trying to get that protect for free and kind of just have it come down to a mind game. Eric's the one who's able to come out, though. He outsmarts him in this play, and now both Rayquaza and Kyogre are likely going to be able to get a free attack on this Mimikyu. There's no way it's going to be able to survive two powerful attacks from these legendary Pokemon.
No, Dragon Ascent going to be the first of fire from Eric's cylinders and will do the job in one hit. Mimikyu didn't suffer through that one, but it is going to even the score here on this match. Eric now taking game 2, so it's 1-1.
Yeah, they got a little close, but we do see Eric able to take advantage of some excellent positioning earlier in that match and finish this one off instead of to a third game. Two really close matches so far. And I got to say, we always kind of fixate on the more unlikely Pokemon that we see in these matches, but Mimikyu really has been kind of the crux of this matchup so far, where we saw it, it was a key factor in that first game, knocking out the Rayquaza, and then almost pulls it back from Christopher there. You really get to see the power of that disguise ability. In the first game, it went down immediately, where by preserving that second game, he really could have won that 2v1 if he'd made all the right choices. Fortunately for Christopher, not quite able to make that read, but you really get to see the power of a Pokemon we don't see very often.
I still think that Christopher was hoping for a knockout into the Rayquaza before it got a chance to use its Pinch Berry there. So, and a little bit of some unlucky rolls for both of these players that have decided the games. Yeah. But we are getting into the team preview here for Game 3. Do you feel like any of these players need to make serious adjustments, or are they just playing out of their minds for this match?
Yeah, I think probably if I'm both of these players, I just want to keep doing my thing where I don't know that the other Pokemon improve the matchup too much, so much as change it. I think Kartana would be tempting against some of these Pokemon, but not really against what Christopher's bringing, especially because of the Groudon there. So I don't know if that's really a viable option. Tapu Koko has a lot of the same problems where I think by Christopher having not brought Tapu Fini to any of these previous games, it makes it two Pokemon that Eric hasn't selected, kind of sketchy matchups. So I think Eric kind of has to commit to those 4 unless he's anticipating a change from Christopher. And then on Christopher's side of the field, I feel like I have to change anything. I think like Tapu Fini is sort of the interesting one where it does pretty well against most of these Pokemon. Certainly, you don't want to keep compounding your disadvantage against Nihilego, though, who's already a pretty tough Pokemon for him to handle. So I don't think he can really make any changes either. There are elements of those other Pokemon that would be interesting in this matchup. I think probably both sides better off bringing the same 4 Pokemon, just saying, all right, I won one. If a roll goes my way, or I do just a little bit more damage than the other one, I could have been 2-0 right now.
Yeah.
I think they just both need to be confident in what they're doing. Probably do something similar to the previous game and just trust that they can outdog their opponent.
This is the level of competition that we expect to see here, though, at the Pokemon World Championships. I love that this matchup is just giving us all the good graces today. But we're ready to get started. Game 3 now between Eric Rios and Christopher Kahn. This is going to be a great match. Comes down to this last game and how it's going to be decided here. But leads from both sides of the field here. Incineroar and Nihilego going to be kicking things off here for Eric. And on Christopher's side of the field, going to get matched with Groudon and Incineroar. So, wow, Incineroar now coming out this time. Groudon going back to its roots from that game 1 that Christopher was able to take.
Yeah, so this is an interesting setup. Certainly looks like an advantage early on to Christopher's side of the field. Instead of trying to go for that Xerneas setup early, he gets Groudon out against 2 Pokemon who are weak against ground-type attacks. However, we also learned in Game 1 that the situation is a little bit more perilous for Groudon than it looks. A hidden power from Nihilego, even if Kyogre were to switch in, would not score a knockout on that Groudon, but still there's a potential of a lot of damage going that direction. So you've got to be a little bit careful for Christopher, especially if Eric could maneuver that away this time where he wouldn't take so much damage in return. Last time we saw 2 big hits because Mimikyu was beside Groudon when that happens. There was both the Z move and the Precipice Blades. With an Incineroar next to Groudon, there's a little bit less threat of damage, and you do want to get your Kyogre in against Incineroar at some point. So maybe going for that play would be a little bit safer this time, even if you have to give up the Nihilego, if you think there's some other way you can deal with the Rayquaza.
Well, we don't know yet what Incineroar is faster. on either side of the field. I don't think that we've ever seen them mirrored against each other. We're not going to see it either here. Rayquaza coming in instead of Eric's Incineroar and going to go ahead and reset that weather.
Yeah, so a nice play now with the airlock active. If Nihilego was to use a hidden power, and it will, this will succeed.
Ooh, this is going to succeed, and it's going to do a lot of damage. A little bit over half there. And remember that there was another move onto that Groudon before we saw that hidden power, so we don't know if that's actually going to be a damage roll there. But we'll be able to fire back onto the Nihilego. Hold on, that is a Focus Sash.
Yeah, so the Focus Sash, as expected, we'll have to see if perhaps there was a U-turn in that slot to cover it, or a Snarl.
Wow. Great read there by Christopher to kick things off. Nihilego no longer pressuring that Groudon on the field.
Yeah, so it's some big damage in the Groudon, where now another attack from Rayquaza or from Kyogre would be able to knock the Groudon out. But one of the biggest obstacles to Xerneas wreaking havoc over this match is now out of the way. I do like the switch into Rayquaza instead of Kyogre, by the way, especially seeing that Snarl. The hidden power would have done more damage if it was Kyogre instead, with that Primordial C instead of Airlock. But the advantage of doing it this way is that, the Snarl doesn't really matter for Rayquaza, whereas Kyogre getting Snarled would have weakened Eric's position on this turn a lot more. So he does a little bit less damage, but also leaves himself in a better board state.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing that I do worry about, though, is Christopher's Pokemon having to deal with the Kyogre that just entered the field. I don't think that Christopher wants to allow Groudon to stick around in this turn, so it's going to be a lot of reposturing here for Christopher's side.
Yeah.
Letting him back a peg.
Yeah, this is an incredibly free Swords Dance for Rayquaza if Eric wants it. There's also the option of switching out to Incineroar, kind of having that fake out pressure. But with Kyogre threatening a knockout on both of these fire type Pokemon, I think probably you just set the Rayquaza up, get that for free, and then you have that to play with for future turns.
Mega Evolve first. Rayquaza is going to stay on the battlefield. Eric maybe looking for that Swords Dance here if he's able to read Christopher switching out some Pokemon. All right. Dragon Ascent. No, just Dragon Ascent. We're not even going to go for the Swords Dance. Eric sees a target and wants to take it while there is an opportunity, and it is going to be Groudon. No switches here. Groudon going to take the knockout on there. Weather Control going to Eric.
Yeah, I mean, this should still be a double knockout unless Kyogre is for some reason gone for an Ice Beam, and that's not what we'll see. A big water spot coming down this Incineroar will be an easy one-hit. Oh, no!
Ooh,
whoa!
Wow! I don't think we expected that.
That wasn't easy at all.
No, that wasn't going to be easy. Eric really looking for that knockout onto Incineroar, but Incineroar able to go back and preserve itself for another Intimidate later on.
Yeah, that is a sad water spout, unfortunately. I guess we learned something with the Incineroar, or I guess see something about the Incineroar, where with no berry activating, it is the Assault Vest that allowed it to survive that water spout.
Wow.
Otherwise, no way you can train an Incineroar if it's going to survive that. Crucial that it survived, however. It can come back in now, use a Fake Out, enable this Xerneas to use Geomancy, and I think that's just a really crucial play from Christopher. Eric probably kicking himself, or now if he'd gone for the Swords Dance instead, he would still have that available. Water Spout would have knocked out Groudon anyway, and not knocked out Incineroar either way, as it turns out. But unfortunately, you hadn't seen that Assault Vest yet, couldn't have expected that play. It makes a lot of sense with the information Eric had, but Christopher perhaps able to hide just enough information for Game 3 in order to pull ahead.
Yeah, a little bit of that surprise factor we were talking about before this match. Now, though, Christopher set up a lot better. Xerneas here going to really punish that Rayquaza for not getting that Swords Dance up. Eric still has a lot of offensive pressure on the field.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pressure, but Incineroar is going to negate a lot of it, and even though it'll probably faint for its troubles, getting the Geomancy up is going to be really crucial for Christopher finishing this game.
Absolutely. I think that was the right target for the Fake Out. Rayquaza not going to be able to dish out any more damage. No more Dragon Ascents from that Dragon. Xerneas going for the Geomancy will be able to get fully powered up from that Power Herb consumption, and Kyogre able to fire back afterwards. Definitely, if we go for another Water Spout, then Incineroar is definitely going to get knocked out this time. Scald, though. Ooh.
I'm hoping for a critical hit. Oh, that's a lot of damage. He does get the critical hit, and that makes this game much more interesting. Smart play on Eric's side, rather than going for the Water Spot, picking up the knockout. As much as you'd like to get rid of that Fake Out pressure, I think that's probably still a losing position for him. So he goes for the critical hit, trying to work Xerneas into KO range from extreme speed from that Rayquaza. But also, I mean, knocking out both of these Pokemon now from where Xerneas is at is very difficult. So, you know, even another Scald would do a lot of damage. The combination of those two attacks would certainly knock it out from here. So what looked like it was a pretty comfortable position for Christopher now with that critical hit, but just not healthy enough to safely close this game. It's going to need some help from Christopher's final Pokemon.
Yeah, we still don't know what that is yet, and we're not potentially going to see it quite yet, but Rayquaza going back just in case you do see another weather swap there, may also preserving it because you don't want to keep your Rayquaza in with that boosted Xerneas on the field. Incineroar now intimidate pressure on the board. Kyogre going to stay in here, going to take the receiving end of the Dazzling Gleam, both of the Pokemon. Going to survive through it. Kyogre firing back with a Scald. Is this going to be enough to finish it off? No, not quite. Lots of defense boost there for that Xerneas. U-turn into the Kyogre slot. Going to put it to less than half health. And gets to go back to Christopher, so we do get to see that fourth and final Pokemon.
Christopher definitely exhaling there. A burn from that Scald would have been horrible, or a critical hit. Able to avoid both of those, and Mimikyu coming back in. Such a crucial Pokemon in the first two games of this set. We'll have to see if Mimikyu can help Christopher pull this one back.
Well, it's fairies against the pressure of a dragon here on Eric's side, or at least the pressure in the back.
Really great time to get Mimikyu in, though. So on Eric's side of the field, you know, you're thinking, oh, I got to fake out Xerneas because I can't take another Dazzling Gleam. Doing so, however, there's that threat of Mimikyu getting that Z move out for free, although perhaps you just wait a turn, don't worry about hitting the Protect. And yeah, Xerneas is going to take this free Dazzling Gleam. It's going to get a knockout onto the Incineroar, allowing Eric to bring Rayquaza back in, but at what cost?
Yeah, Rayquaza is going to have to come in for the Incineroar slot, but Mimikyu going for the Z move. Kyogre did use Protect, so it's going to mitigate some of the damage, but it's time to snuggle.
Yeah, barring perhaps even with a critical hit, Kyogre should survive here, but weaken it even more. Definitely going to wind up in range of a Play Rough on the next turn, so you know, it's still going to be important for Mimikyu, just like the first game. He's got the Disguise preserved. It's going to have some work to do, but starting to whittle down Kyogre's health.
Who would have ever thought that the biggest threat on someone's team was going to be a Mimikyu? A lot of damage going to come out here on the very end of things. Eric now has to rely on Rayquaza and Kyogre for the last bit. Yeah, 52 HP left on that Kyogre on Eric's side. Yeah,
Mimikyu possibly the worst snuggler I've ever seen, damaging its partner, but that damage could really make a big difference. You know, we've seen how close Mimikyu has been to picking up some knockouts. It's probably going to need to pick up at least one of these two remaining knockouts in his own. Xerneas, highly weakened, and very important that it did not use Protect last turn. You know, it could have taken some damage from Fake Out, but that damage wouldn't really have mattered. You know, Mimikyu using that Z move on Kyogre prevented any potential of Xerneas being knocked out last turn. And it's going to need to at least have the option to Protect here. Certainly on Eric's side, you're looking for an extreme speed on Xerneas, but if Xerneas protects, you want to double target Mimikyu instead. So, you know, can he make the right read?
It's going to be extreme speed first into the Xerneas slot. Will take out that offensive pressure, so Xerneas no longer able to use the Geomancy that it worked so hard for. Mimikyu, though, going for the Play Rough. Rayquaza holds on. And gets that Pinch Berry.
Yeah, once again, not enough. This time, not even close. And
not even close.
The combination of these two Pokemon look like they're going to be able to defeat Mimikyu once again.
Oh, Scald now will break the disguise on Mimikyu, and this might be one, maybe two turns if we see a double Protect. Oh no. I hate seeing Mimikyu's head fall to the side.
Yeah, Eric is just that close, but doesn't quite get the call right on this one. Allows Xerneas to be knocked out by extreme speed. Incineroar going to come in and help out, so still has that tiny bit of health left to try to make a difference here. Going to bring that Intimidate down onto Rayquaza, reduce its attack by 1 level. So, last time Mimikyu had to fight Rayquaza, had a Swords Dance. This time it's been Intimidated. A little bit better spot, but still there's a lot of damage that's going to need to come down from this Mimikyu here. Incineroar, the slowest Pokemon on the field, going to get it Fake Out and then probably not be able to contribute much. So can Mimikyu do the remaining 185 damage plus whatever Fake Out gives it, or will Eric pull this one through, start out the tournament with a 3-0 record?
Fake Out onto the Kyogre. Rayquaza extreme speed into the Incineroar, knocking it out, so Incineroar will not be able to do any more work for this match. Mimikyu uses Play Rough into the Rayquaza slot. Oh, does not get the knockout! Eric celebrating over there, knowing that this game is all but wrapped up.
Yeah, 2 Pokemon left to knock out. Hard to imagine a way Mimikyu's going to get 2 attacks off here. I don't know if, that's a roll or what. Just that close. Looks like you. Poor Mimikyu, if its attack was just a few points higher, it would have knocked out the Rayquaza twice in this series. Perhaps just assuming that, well, I don't think I can survive a Dragon Ascent either way, so I've got to play for a situation where I don't have to. Such a close set.
It is a close set, trying to draw it out as long as possible as well, just in case we can get down to a timer here for these players. But we have less than 11 minutes left, and I don't think Mimikyu is going to be able to hit 5 protects in a row.
Yeah, plus you have Pokemon disadvantage, so not going to help too much even if it does. Really well played set by both sides, but man, just coming short 2 games in a row for Christopher. Heartbreaking way to lose, but 2-1 still isn't a terrible way to start day 2 of the Pokemon World Championships.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've got 4 more rounds of Swiss. Definitely hopes alive for both of these players, but whoever's going to come out with that 3-0, you're going to feel really good, very confident about how your team is performing so far.
So Eric, perhaps not so confident this game is over, concerned about the potential of Shadow Sneak, and we do see it. Comes down on Rayquaza instead, so this time Eric doesn't make the right call. Rayquaza gets knocked out, and suddenly looks like maybe Christopher's going to be the one who takes this one.
Christopher baiting his breath right now. I'm at the edge of my seat.
Yeah, it seemed like 2 legendary Pokemon facing down Mimikyu would have it, but Play Rough coming down, Kyrie to be knocked out, and Christopher takes the game.
Oh my goodness, coming back from a deficit, Christopher is going to take this match between Christopher Kahn and Eric Rios. What an exciting match for both of these players. There was some phenomenal gameplay all across the board. Eric has to feel really good about the play that they made here.
Yeah, I mean, we hadn't seen that 4th move. Shadow Sneak not revealed until the very last turns of the game. And yeah, I mean, I guess it did enough damage to Rayquaza after all, right? First game didn't get to take advantage